Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum. A very good afternoon. Thank you so much, Nku Hilda, for the kind introduction. First of all, I would like to thank the Society for kindly inviting me to give to this afternoon's talk. As Hilda rightly mentioned, that this talk this afternoon is going to be on safeguarding our intangible cultural heritage. Excuse me. How often do we go to the museum or to a gallery or any other heritage institution, and you always want to see what's the story behind whatever is being shown to you, whether it is the explicit, the tacit part of it. And this quotation I took from UNESCO: cultural heritage does not have to end at monuments and collections of objects. A lot of people think that once we have a museum, that's it, or once we have a library, that's it. I mean, we have everything in, but in fact, it's not enough. This afternoon, this is an outline or framework of the topics I'm going to discuss with you. Some of you may have heard some parts of it in my other talks. Bear with me on that one. And there's certain parts where it might be so introductory, but basically this afternoon, I'm going to share with you what we have done as a heritage institution, basically the library, on safeguarding Sarawak's intangible cultural heritage. This is the text that I really go to for in my work, and especially I dissected it when I was doing my PhD. And for those of you who are interested to read more on it, I have given that the link onto it. And this is, I call it a live document because it keeps on being improved and being amended based on the advice by the committee members. And inside there as well, it gives you even to the operational procedures on how you go about with doing safeguarding, both at the state level or at local level, including at international level. And this is the purpose of this convention. And to know that at UNESCO level, intangible cultural heritage is very, very important, more important, if not more important than just the tangible part of it. So it has been evolving since 2003, and I've just attended the 10th General Assembly just a week before during this, for the 10th General Assembly on this convention. Now, I know everybody knows what's our cultural heritage, but on the intangible part of it, it has got to include the practices, the expressions, the knowledge of the people. And the most important thing about being highlighted in this convention is the involvement of the people who owns this knowledge when you're working in safeguarding this. I'm not going to read, but mainly intangible cultural heritage is those that they are in the minds of the knowledge holders or the cultural traditional cultural expressions. It is a living heritage, and it does evolve, and based on the way the people live from time to time, and it is very holistic. If we have an artifact, for example, it cannot stand alone without the intangible aspect of this knowledge. Now these, according to the UNESCO, are the 5 main domains, and this one, again, there are sub-domains which I'm not going to share over here, but these are the main ones. The oral traditions of the community, the expressions, the language, the performing arts, the social practices, the rituals, the festive events, and the knowledge that goes with it, and more so the traditional craftsmanship. I didn't bring any cultural artifact with me today, but if you can imagine this as a cultural artifact, for example, either it's a woven textile or a carved artwork or basketry, for example. Sometimes when we go to a cultural heritage institution like a museum, all it says is a basket made by this group, but we hardly get to see or to know the stories that go behind the production of this from the point of the people who made them or from the point of the knowledge holders. In my study, this is my finding, why it is quite a challenge for us to really safeguard intangible cultural heritage is because of the levels of knowledge that goes embedded in these artifacts or in these rituals, for example. In my other sessions before this, I really explained a lot on this. Basically, the knowledge of the indigenous people, I kind of divide them into tiers. The base knowledge where you and I can see and we can understand by observing people doing it. And then the tier 2 is the ceremonial and the rituals where people who are interested to get more have to go through tutelage or have to go through learning from the knowledge holders. Then the most challenges that we face in the heritage institution is how do we capture the sacred knowledge? This is the one that is very challenging in the sense that it is only with the consent and the approval of the knowledge holder, only then we can sort of capture. When I say capture, either we record it or we write it down. But the challenge is really the rituals. Sometimes there's spiritual aspects that's attached to this. And the language. As you know, Sarawak has a lot of indigenous groups, and with modernization and with conversion into religions and with education, a lot of the languages that go with these rituals or which go with this knowledge are dying. As I mentioned, the indigenous knowledge ecosystem is very holistic in the sense that they are interrelated. And this is the whole ecosystem of our indigenous knowledge embedded in our intangible cultural heritage. Now, I'm not going to go into each and every one of them. I'm not going to bore you with these findings that I had from my study, but you can have a share of my slides later. Now, what do we mean by safeguarding here? I took two governance documents. One is our own Sarawak Heritage Ordinance of 2019, and I put in what they meant by safeguarding: identification, protection, conservation, restoration, renovation, maintenance, documentation, revitalization. And if I look at UNESCO's definition of this, there are some that are almost similar, but there are also some that we did not touch in our heritage ordinance, and I put a comparison over here. The ones in yellow are the ones that are just almost similar. But from the interpretation of the Sarawak Heritage Ordinance, it seems that we're more skewed towards preservation of our heritage buildings. That's why the conservation, restoration, renovation, maintenance comes in play here. But in UNESCO, because it is basically on intangible cultural heritage. The other one that I did not put in similarity over here is on the protection part of it, which also appears in UNESCO's Convention for Safeguarding of Intangible Cultural Heritage. This is, for the lawyers in this room, this is something, the protection part of it, I would like to call it on the intellectual property part of it. The active, proactive protection, because in protection there is the passive part of it and there's the active part of it. And in my understanding on the protection, the proactive part of it is looking at laws and how do we guard and safeguard and protect our indigenous knowledge according to legal framework. Okay, now that's the theoretical part of it. We always hear people say safeguard, safeguard, but not many tell us how do you go about with doing it. In both the instruments just now, identification is one of it, the main ones. Now let me just share with you on the identification part of it. When we started the National Library, the Sarawak State Library, we were being given the mandate to create a center of excellence on Sarawakiana. And the first job we did was get anything and everything we can find about Sarawak, written about Sarawak, and more often than not, is mostly being published outside. No problem there, because we can scour the internet, us, and engage ourselves with antiquarian booksellers, and park ourselves with the Public Record Office in England, and we get our documentation. But our main challenge was getting the voice of our own people writing about ourselves. So that was a big challenge for us. So when we did the identification for this, we have to engage with quite a number of people, the knowledge holders, we engage with NGOs, we engage with societies, we engage with whoever that we think we can get as much as possible for getting Sarawakiana materials. And of course, the documentation, we call for expression of interest from various bodies, NGOs, to be able to work together with us in the documentation part of it, and transmission and revitalization. Now, as a heritage institution which is focused on the literary heritage, documentation is not so much of a problem. I can say it's not so much of a problem because technology has helped us a lot. But on the part of the revitalization part of it, that one has got to be done with a lot of communities, a lot of bodies, a lot of interested parties. Now, I call it the GLAM, the galleries, the libraries, the archives, the museum sector. We are the cultural heritage institutions, as you know, worldwide. This is a universal thing. We are there to collect and preserve and to disseminate. Now this is our role. We acquire, we manage, we document, we access and disseminate as much as possible, we preserve, we safeguard. Now in the documentation part of it is not just coming up with the publication, but also we index it, we give keywords so that it's easy for people to find the materials that we have. We provide you with bibliographies, we provide you with cataloging, and whatever way we get these materials to be accessible to people as much as possible. But there's one thing that we practice and which we kind of freeze the materials in the sense that we separate the tacit, which are all in the minds of the people who holds this intangible knowledge, and the explicit, the artifacts, the tangible part of it. This is the thing that we are trying to kind of innovate. How can we both marry this together so that the tacit will still be accompanying the material culture? I will focus on what we have done in Pustaka Negeri of the Sarawak State Library in terms of our safeguarding initiatives, according to the domains just now I mentioned, from identification, for example. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of collaboration that we have to work on this one. When we initially wanted to find what has been written about us by ourselves, that's where we found there's a big gap. And this is where we engage with people, we talk to people, tell us what is it that we need to do. In that process of identification, we work with a lot of the communities and the groups and relevant non-governmental organizations. These are the things that help us to identify. So when we started this, we found out that in our own study, and personally when I look at this, the documentation of the Iban culture is very well done in the sense that we have Tun Juga Foundation, who's done a very good job on this one. And then as we move towards Sarawak, because we have to cover the whole of Sarawak, so we find that not much of documentation has been done on our indigenous group in the northern part of Sarawak. So when we started Pustaka Miri, one of the things that we emphasize, we work with the groups over there, and we started with the Sarawak Festival in Miri. Now, I've distributed, Val was helping me with distributing the books around just now. Have a look at those books. That's just some of the samples of documentation that we have done by the library. We set a KPI of at least 2 titles each year, but some years we have more than that. Thank you so much for the support that we receive. And that we have proven that we are able to do this. So the State Library is also a publishing house for Sarawakiana. Since 2000, we've produced 41 publications. When we started with a CD, and we called it the Sarawakiana series. But now, as you know, technology evolved. Some of the CDs we cannot access, but we have all these scientists, IT scientists, who are transferring those on that CD onto something accessible now, and we have a portal for it. Now, this is because of COVID. One of the things that we have to still work while COVID was in it. We cannot go to the office. And people still want to access our materials because they cannot go to the library. So we started a YouTube portal for Pustaka Negeri Sarawak. You can access it, and the whole publications that we have on digital recordings are there. We have initiated a Sarawakiana portal. We want this to be the portal, the one-stop center, the one window for people to kind of access anything and everything about Sarawak. If we do not have them, we always tell people, please contact the officers at the library, tell them what you want, and they are very professional, and they will get those materials wherever these materials are available worldwide. Some of them are here, and you can talk to them more. They are the professionals. Now, what I really want to share on this Sarawakiana portal is we have the East Sarawak Gazette. I love reading the Sarawak Gazette at night when I cannot sleep. Just go and read, and you kind of, at least, as if you are, it transports you to the time when it was written by the English officers at that point of time. And you find some very interesting things. And every 2 years, we have to provide the state, it is mandatory according to our ordinance, Sarawak State Bibliography, everything published in Sarawak since the year 2000 is available on our bibliography, which is also now available online. Of course, we have a directory of all Sarawak authors because we feel that we owe it to them, because they have to deposit their publication to us, and we owe it to them to do something for them. So we have a directory of all Sarawak authors and the list of their works. And we have the Sarawak Arts Collection, we have the Sarawak Dictionary, and the web archiving system. Now, on the another thing that I would like to share with you, this is on the Sarawak Gazette. We do not have a complete volume of what Sarawak Gazette is. I said, why would I share this with you when I'm talking about intangible cultural heritage? In here, a lot of stories about us written in those days, and that's some of the tacit knowledge also being captured inside here as well. This is one art gallery that I would like to share with you, because to us, information are being captured in various ways. Writing is not just one of it. So we initiated a collection of all Sarawak artworks by Sarawak artists. Our policy was, I hope it's still there, the policy was to collect at least two works of our own artists and have it. I got this idea after visiting the National Library of Wales. They have a whole collection of paintings of Wales by the Welsh or by other people. And I said, hey, this is something that we need. So we initiated it. We renovated our special collections room, and we have a hidden secret of the paintings of our Sarawakian artists in Pustaka. But you don't have to go to the library. It's available online. And it's at the Sarawakiana portal. You hover over the painting, it will tell you who's the painter, and it will give you information about the artist, where is it located, and then the item number, and the other related collections of the artist available in the library. Now we move on again. We would like to hear more. What was the artist thinking of when he or she was doing the artwork? And Pustaka has already initiated one app. They call it the Augmented Reality Interactive Collection, where they interview the artists, and then you can listen to the artist and how and what are her thinking or his thinking over the paintings and all that. So, but this is where we use technology to assist us. And this was just presented in Surabaya, where is this? Surakarta, in Solo, Surakarta, during the recent Sipawa collection. I'm sure a lot of you know this is Tan Wei King's work, and his work is one of my favorite. And they interviewed him, and with this app, you can listen to him and see him doing his work, and him telling and explaining to you about his artwork. I wish we can do that when Monet was still alive. In terms of transmission, part of safeguarding, we did Surakarta talk series again. Since 2008, we have 64 talk series, and it is also available on YouTube. Now, oral history project. Now, what's the difference between the talk series and the oral history project? The talk series is like this, where you invite the knowledge holder, get this person to talk about it, and we have an audience. But for our oral history project, this is somewhere, because we find that writing, coming up with a book takes quite some time, and we still want to catch the knowledge holder when they're still around. So we did a lot of oral history. We interviewed this person. We have a recording studio at our SRR building, and sometimes we go to the knowledge holder's place when they cannot come over to us, and do recordings of their knowledge. And the other thing about safeguarding is how do we revitalize these various aspects of heritage. We did festival, the Surakarta Festival, as I mentioned. This is one of the ways for us to work with the community, get the community to come and work together with the library, and then showcase their cultural heritage. And this is where we get them to talk about their crafts, talk about their rituals, talk about the cultural aspects of their life. And this is being held every once in 2 years. And this is where we work very, very closely with a lot of collaborators. We have had it since 2010, and it is continuous. And each year, there's a different theme to it. We invite, like this gentleman over here. He is the maker of the instrument of the Bidayuh people called the Pratong, and he played it, and he explained about his, and we recorded it. Now, this is a very interesting one, and I have a personal interest in this, in the sense that my late grandfather was a hadra maker and also a lead player for his group. And with coming in from different culture from Semenanjung, our hadra is different from Kompang, from Semenanjung. And there are very marked differences in the way they beat this, and also the way they play with this. And one of the times that we had this one, that sort of, we invited various kampong groups, and it has never been done before. And it's very exciting to say that this have created a lot of interest, and that's how we would like it to be safeguarded by the community. Of course, we don't want McDonald's or Kentucky to kind of submerge our traditional food, and we get the community to also to share with us the traditional food that we have. These are the things that they showcase to us, and I never knew that the upe, or the what do you call that, of the pinang can be used as a dish. Isn't that beautiful? And of course, the community is the one who get excited and very, very interested in this. This morning I just posted on my Facebook, and that's where I start to do ranting about how we go about. Peru have just listed their ceviches, that how you would pronounce it, as their traditional dish and on the UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage list. And we have this in Sarawak by the Melanau, and maybe some other group also have the umai. The ceviche is almost kind of similar to the umai. And during the General Assembly, the Peru Embassy did a showcase, and during one of the side events, we had a cocktail, and they feature this dish. It was beautiful, and it tasted like our umai, but of course, they kind of decorated, and they did several variations to it. Now, I just want to share this picture. This is asam payak, we call it. In the ceviche by the Peruvian, they use a lot of citrus, they use lemon a lot, but the traditional Melanau use this a lot. Now we cannot have this much because of forest degradation and all that. We use a lot of limau kasturi or calamansi for this. This is the thing that, where can we get this if it is not available anymore? Now, during the Sarawak Festival, also as part of our transmission of knowledge, we get a lot of segments of our community, from the young to the old, to be part of this. And this is how we would like it to be continued. I just want to share with you what we did by inculcating in the education system. I know in the formal education system, we can't yet request for a curriculum through the Jabatan Pendidikan. But what we did was, working together with Kertin, we always have workshops at Pustaka Miri for children on how to go about with writing their knowledge. The thing is, what we did was we did crowdsourcing, because we want the knowledge to come as much and as fast. On our own, we do not have enough capacity. So when we work with Kertin, what we did was we had a workshop with the school children, and then we asked them to go to your grandparents, go to your community, go to your elders, write something about your heritage. So that's part of our crowdsourcing. So what we did was, the best of the, we compile it, and this is in respect of the works done by the school children of the northern region. We compiled it in a book, and we gave the names and the name of the school and the stories of their community. And we have also compiled the workshops, the procedures on how they are going to document their intangible cultural heritage. So these are the things that we come up to help our community be aware and be interested as well to produce. Just a case of another example. When we talk about technology, this was a request by the Jati Miri people in Miri. The president approached us, can you do something for us? When they knew about us documenting. And Jati Miri, in Miri, the number of the people are really, really getting smaller and smaller. So the president wanted, before they do not have any more people speaking the language, so they requested. And it was quite an unusual request from them. They said, can you document the tombstones of our people? And it was like, having to do and document and go to the graveyard to document something. So we worked together with UNIMAS and a group of researchers with UNIMAS, with our team in Miri. We went to the graveyard and really documented the tombstones. And indeed, the tombstones carry a lot of information which really unraveled during the research. Now, in some of the books that we had, I mentioned earlier on, sorry, I just want to share with you. If you see this, because we can only publish a certain thickness of the book, and it doesn't do justice to a lot of information, a lot of videos that we took, a lot of recordings. So in some of the features of in the book and some of the books that I've sent around, if you see this feature, you can scan, and then there are more information which will pop up on your smart device. But you have to download the app for you to be able to do that. So we thought just kind of taking this picture, if there's not enough of illustrations or explanation, it doesn't mean anything to you or me. So we thought, let's work on the technology. But the challenge is, we have to look into how do we really keep that on the cloud? Whose cloud do we use? And whose property would it be? So that is something that we kind of work on. Now, on the way forward, safeguarding initially, as I mentioned, the heritage institutions sort of separate the tacit from the explicit. But now, we would like to do safeguarding as much as possible without freezing that information. The other thing that I would like to highlight, which I mentioned earlier on just now, is on the intellectual property part of it. And this is another aspect that I am still studying and really looking into. Do we want to protect as part of safeguarding? And I think I need lawyers' help here. I'm not a legal person, but I read a lot of documentation on the intellectual property part of intellectual cultural heritage, on our indigenous knowledge. This is something that Sarawak has to look into. This is something that I need a lot of advocacy from all of you. What do you think about it? Do we protect it using intellectual property, or do we do something about it before somebody else claims that that's theirs? All right? So I think before I put everybody else to sleep, I think that's basically what I want to share with you. But for those of you who are interested, I have the list of all the publications that we have. I have the list of all the oral histories that we have done. I have a list of all the Sorokiana talk series that we have done in Pustaka. So, open for questions or any inputs or additions or anything that you would like to ask.